Hey, everybody, welcome back to Chris Anderson Comics. I am joined once again by Kevin Anthony Catalan, and I asked him back to talk about something that is part of his comics gene pool, the thing that a book that he couldn't live without. Number one, why?
Wait, you were cut off there. Sorry, Chris. Right away.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Great. Well, hopefully everybody knows who you are. And anyway, this is part of
Thank you.
your comics gene pool. So you picked Akira to talk about. So
Yeah.
what's I mean, everybody knows, I would hope, and loves
Mhm.
Akira. If you don't, you're going to find out a little bit about the artwork anyway, and what makes it special to Kevin. So let's go. What do you have to say about this?
Yeah. So Akira, this like literally this book is my introduction to comics. Without it, I don't think I would be a comic artist today, or at
Yeah.
least be the same comic artist today.
Yeah.
What happened was is that when I was really young, say 7 to 8 years old, something like that. My dad, my late father, is an animator, and so I modeled after him, seeing him work at home. He had the big light box desk, those old school desks with a
Oh,
rotating
wow.
table. Yeah, everything. He had a custom made, and so I would draw on that all the time and make my own animation. So I would see
Yeah.
him work and I copy him, right? And my dad, he's not particularly the guy that likes to make stories. He likes to draw and he likes to just work for studios and stuff. That's his passion.
Yeah.
Um, but to me, he started noticing that I like telling stories. And so I was trying to do scenes of characters and have original characters when I was at that age. And he's like, you're gonna take forever to draw a whole like a story like doing animation like this. And so
Yeah.
he directed me to comics. He said, well, I don't have any comics around like around him, but he just saw Akira on the shelf, like right next to him. He just grabbed it and gave it to me. But I was really young, and the beginning scenes of this book is something that stuck out to me. At least in my, this is like volume 3 of the Epic Comics collection, so it's the colored version.
Okay.
And so you can see this when I first opened it, and it's very like messed up now because I opened it so much as a kid, and this part is where the clown gang gets his head blown off. And so this was the very first scene I saw as a kid in the comic. I'm like, what is this? And that's like these
Yeah.
clown dudes look cool, and then his head is exploding. And so I see how ripped it this as I've opened this so many times. I think I drew these panels a lot as a kid
Right.
because I was just really like enticed, and I got captured, and I don't even know what the story is, right? And
Yeah.
so I didn't even know it was an anime of it too. I just knew it was this book.
So you knew the book
Um,
before you knew the anime.
Yeah, but I didn't know the story either. That was the thing because I didn't when I was young, I didn't read like this yet. I was
Yeah,
just
of
looking at
course.
pictures. I was like, oh, pictures, cool. And so, you know, and this just stuck to me. And I think I became, kind of, I wouldn't say I was really into gore, but that drawing of like something profound and something insane as this was something that stuck out to me. And that's
Sure.
even prevalent in my work a lot. When you see like Space Knights, you see a lot of that scenes where their heads are exploding or something like that. But yeah, and so my dad showed me this, and then he's like, oh, this is comics. You can just, you see how each panel is like this and that. But because he did comics too back in high school, I think, just
Okay.
for fun. And then directing me to that. And then he took me to a dollar, kind of like a equivalent to a not a dollar, but like a 25-cent bin in the Philippines. And
Okay.
so that's when I first got my like actual comics after this. But this was my introduction to it. That's why Akira is so important to me. Um, yeah,
Well, so I didn't know that your dad was an animator. I don't know if a lot of people do.
yeah,
Um,
he was. Yeah,
that's a trip. What
he
did he
it
work
is.
on?
So he worked. See, I've been kind of piecing things together because I've only just seen him. Like I never ever really asked him questions because I was growing with it, right? He was just around.
Yeah.
And so I know in the at least late 80s to 90s, he was working for Disney
Hmm.
in Australia. So Disney Australia. I know he worked on Goofy. I know he worked on those Goofy shorts, but I think he had some involvement in the movie as well because he's
Yeah.
really involved in Goofy a lot in Disney. And I know he did a bunch of other Disney stuff too. He did Madeline. That's one I remember too, because he always brings like tapes back then of like stuff he worked in for free.
Yeah.
He did a lot of commercial work in Australia too, and then he went back to Philippines, and he worked for Warner Brothers. So there's a studio there that was contracted by Warner Brothers a lot, and so the cartoons I was growing up with, he was working on, and so side by side, I'm watching the shows that he was working on. Is never noticed, and so it was like I remember he would just have random stuff show up in a home. He had Tom and Jerry show up one point, and then he had Static Shock, and then he had just the Justice League cartoon show up, and so
Wow.
it was just showing up. I was like, oh, what's that? But he never says anything about it. He just works. And
Right.
then he would take me to the studio, and like, let's say we're going to the mall. I was like, oh, I have to go to the studio real quick, where everyone drops off their their frames and cells to send off. And I just see all the posters on the wall of just these cartoons I watch. I'm like, I watched that, but
Yeah.
it never really hit me until I'm older. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, this is like my childhood, and I never asked him questions about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, so a lot of the Cartoon Network back in 2000s is what he worked on a lot. Most of those superhero ones.
That's a trip.
Yeah.
Wow. And so he just kind of pulled it off the bookshelf one day to be like, here,
Yeah,
check this out.
because next to his table there was a shelf right next, because his tables is custom made, so he made it like to where he can reach everything. So
Mhm.
his to right side, it was like all the books that he referred to a lot, and this
Yeah.
was just there. And so he was middle of working, because I was asking him to flip through I asked him to flip through my paper, because he does
Yeah.
that little flick to do the animation. And he was like, I'm busy right now. Here, you should try comics, because I know you're gonna take forever doing this. Because I keep asking him. And so yeah, and then I made this. I went to this, and then started making floppies by hand. So that was
Really?
yeah. So I started doing those, and I didn't have the long arm stapler, so I have to fold my paper like
Yeah.
this and to staple the center. And so now I have a big crease right in the center of my comic right away.
Yeah.
But
Just got to
that's what
reach just a little extra.
and I was like, oh, but yeah, it's just like that was it. Without
Well, that's
this, I don't
crazy.
think I'll be. Yeah.
That's a hell of a first book to be introduced to, because Atomo is, about as the top of the game as you can get.
Yeah.
His storytelling is like second to none. His characters and acting is like unbeatable, and his backgrounds are absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he had assistants do the backgrounds. I'm not sure.
That's the thing I've always been asking myself too. But even if he
Because
does or
it's
doesn't,
so detailed.
seamless. Yeah, I mean, it has to come from him, at some point.
Yeah.
Because you can't tell. That's the crazy part about it.
Yeah, there's like almost no like there's like even in just a regular conversation in these thing, it maintains your attention because of the way that they're acting and the way that he's moving the camera,
Yeah.
And so for this to be the very first thing that you see, and then you have to like, that's where you like, this is where I need to be in the end. I need to be at least as good as this, right?
Well,
So
I didn't think of that until college.
yeah.
I would say, because actually high school. I would say high school, because when
Uh-huh.
I was when you're a kid, you kind of just, that's cool. I want to draw like not like that, but I want to just draw. I want to make a
Yeah.
comic like this, and so I didn't really compare myself a lot when I was a kid.
Right.
But when as age goes by, you start comparing yourself to the greats. But yeah, this time I just wanted to like make a comic, because I thought like, wow, I don't have to draw so much frames anymore. I can just draw a panel. But I didn't know the structure of comics yet. The rules of it. I was so young. But
Yeah.
yeah, because before then, I would even say like that the only thing I knew about comics is that they were really big in newspapers in the Philippines, and so I would see
Mhm.
them a lot in newspapers, and so that was my only like. But I never read them. They were just there. I'm like, oh, that's a little strip of comic, but that was it. But
Right.
I didn't really know that there were books like these.
That's a
So
trip. Yeah.
yeah. Also, it
So
tripped
many
me out too.
greats. What's that?
Sorry. That my first introduction to Akira was a colored version of the book. So when I saw the black and white, I was like, wait, it's not colored. They're all black and white.
Yeah. 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 It's such an interesting way, because I think most kids in America were introduced to the the anime first.
Yeah.
You know, before we got to see it, and then the Epic collection came out, and it was, you know, was it colored first. Was our first exposure to it colored? I don't remember now. But anyway, it was a long time. Like I didn't even buy this book. This is the only copy that I own, and didn't even buy it until about 5-6 years ago.
Oh yeah.
And it's the only one I have. I don't have two yet.
They're expensive, and there's like 6, 7, something like that. So.
Well, yeah, they're 6, 7. They're expensive, but I also just don't have room for it.
They're thick, man.
What was I gonna say?
You say one of the greats. Sorry, I cut you off at that point.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, to go back to that, yeah, I mean, obviously, when you get it, I think as a kid, you don't really realize, you know, how good it is, you know.
Yeah.
It's just the first comic that you see, but I feel the same way about telling stories and comics versus animation, because I actually owned an animation company in like, I was very young. I was like 19, and it was like 1999 to 2000, maybe 2001. I owned a company with some people. When I was in high school, Liquid Television was on while I was drawing my comics, and you know, Peter Chung like influenced me like nobody else, and I just wanted to I want to do that. I want to make cartoons like that. So I came out to LA I'm from Minnesota, but I came out to LA to go to school at Cal Arts.
Okay.
And I didn't get in. They said that my work was too happy. They needed more angry artists. I don't know what that means to this day.
I don't know.
So of course that made me angry.
Now you're in.
And so I just went and started my own animation company with some people, and we did a lot of like the show intros for BET. We did like the Soul Train intro, and we did like did some work with like Wu-Tang Clan and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
And I hated it. And I'm so glad that it went the way that it did, and I didn't go through animation school, because I would have been miserable. I do not like working in animation at all.
Mostly when you have your own voice, dude. Like you want to be your own unique artist, you know.
There's that too. And I want to tell stories, you know, and so I would have gone into film, but it's not that I don't play well with others. It's that I don't like, you know, when you were like a kid playing action figures and stuff, and somebody would come over, and then you'd have this like storyline with your dudes, and then they'd come over and they'd have some other idea. I'm like, no, that is not how it goes.
Exactly.
So I don't want to be in a collaborative medium like film or an animation. I want to make comics because I can do it myself, and I can get my story across, and you're going to enjoy it just as much. And it might even be better than if, you know, 1,000 cooks are in the kitchen. So, you know, that's my story with animation, man. I just couldn't do it anymore.
Actually, bring that point of like, you don't let other play with your storyline. I think that's one of the reasons why I don't collaborate as much with my personal projects.
Yeah.
You know, like my own ideas at least. I don't do that because like I played like that too. I would say that when I played a lot as a kid, I didn't play with other kids with toys. It was mostly just like with their toys, I play with them, but I kind of just join in.
Yeah.
But with my own stuff, like I'm like not that I don't like him playing with the toys. I don't like him playing with the storyline of the thing. The only person I did enjoy doing that was my cousin, who's my best friend. So me and him like had this like connection. Like we just knew that what we're doing is this is what the storyline is. We're seeing the same thing. And so I think that's like the perfect like artist writer pair. It's like if you play together well with action figures.
Yep. Yeah, I'm very picky with the writers that I work with. I have to mesh with them really well, you know?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I just prefer to do it myself. Like David Ocampo and I work really, really well together. Like we're seamless with what we do. But, you know, and then there's something too on the other side where I just want to kind of write and draw my own stuff. You know, I might not be as good of a writer as he is, but I because it's a singular vision, I think the pacing is different than things. Than other than when like a writer tells you how the pacing goes, you can, if you're doing it yourself, you can pre-plan like how the pages are going to be structured,
Exactly.
visually before you even write it, and it changes everything. So it's just different.
It is. They're very different.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm working with a couple of writers, and then that's my whole approach is so different. Like with the way I work my Space Knight stuff is, I wouldn't say seamless, but it is. I can just go back and change things whenever I want, and I can
Yeah.
just, oh, okay, this, I know the whole vision. But with a writer, you have to really collaborate a lot about their ideas and how you
Mhm.
can make that even better, or just communicate that to in the visual sense, right? Because all they can do is give you words. It would be
Right.
cool if that sketches too. That would give you direction, but yeah, so far the writers I work with are really good about that. Like one of them, he has a talent for his vocabulary to just give me a word and it just sparks in my head. And it's like, exactly, it's what I was thinking. It's like, oh, perfect. You got that down. So, I love people like that.
Yeah. If they gave me sketches, I'd push back against it a little bit, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
I think it's more like when I'm doing sketches, like something that I can't understand. Like, what do you really mean by
Right.
that? And so they just
Sure.
draw a little visual kind of doodle. I'm like, okay. And then I kind of just
Yeah.
see it, and then I do my own direction for it.
Yeah, I
When
hear
when,
you there.
when words fail, that you gotta draw
When words
something.
fail.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, that's awesome, man. If anybody hasn't checked out Akira, uh, I don't know what's wrong with you and what you're doing.
Yeah. This sewer
Um,
scene was one of my favorites. I was watching, even in the animation, and then the the manga too,
yeah.
and
I
how
wish
he's
there was
able
a
to
way
draw
to.
in like small space.
I wonder if I can. I have to flip so fast to find where that is in here.
It's just early on. It's when he meets the girl, for her name.
Yeah.
Kaneda meets the girl in the sewers.
Come on.
Yeah, I think was really cool about this is that the way he did water, I keep seeing here, because it's black and white when it first made, and water in black and white is pretty difficult. Because you don't
Yeah,
want
it
it to look
is.
like it's
I
mostly
mean,
the
he has
sewer water.
he has like screen tones and stuff, but I don't think that he's using that on the water part, is he?
He's some of it, but not like in here he does because of this explosion. But
Oh, okay.
the other ones he doesn't. There's some in the darkness he does, but you still gotta balance those forms. Those little hills of water, right?
Yeah.
Like this one is a waterfall. Like how the hell?
I've been looking at the way people draw water a lot lately because there's a passion project that I want to do that is going to involve a lot of water, and I want to just make it look
Yeah,
spectacular.
this one's great.
And I think that Atomo is actually one of the best examples of it.
That is why I like the sewer scene a lot. Like this one, like how the he does liquid really good. That's why I like about his blood splatter and stuff he does.
Yeah.
Like he used like a dip pen to do those, and it's just so good. Even with the explosions, they feel very liquid.
Yeah, they do. Because his explosions kind of come back and
They do.
like undulate. Well, I can't find it. Oh well. I wanted to kind of look at them like next to each other, but whatever. I guess viewers are just going to have to do it themselves. Speaking of like liquid looking explosions, like this, just the way that it curls and curves.
Yeah.
It's just so organic. And then yet when he gets into mechanical things, they're flawless.
They are. Mostly when the destruction ones. Like I try to study these a lot, where he does these little particles and little pieces of wood and metal,
Mm-hmm.
but they're all just rectangular shapes. But they look very complex because there's so much of them.
Right.
And they work still in perspective, even mostly when he gets deeper into the destruction later on in the book, which I think you can show off. This one I have this companion piece. So this one's like the binding took off too because I opened this so much
Yeah.
Yeah. I open a lot of these a lot. Let's see. These are more like, I wouldn't say cover work, but I think they were covers. Something like that. Like, look at this thing, man.
Yeah.
God damn. I mean, these are
And
of
I'm
course
sure it's
blown up
photo
when you chew
referenced
it.
like hell, but like it's multiple photos because that's not any kind of city you're gonna find if you
No,
in the regular world right now, you know?
like this is like I love shots like these to where it's like a down. You
Yeah.
just see the city because like there's very small things and details in there that show that these are buildings, so the shadows is what plays. I want to utilize that more, but later on, like let's see, like these things, like little like marks he
Yes.
makes on
Yeah.
the actual crumbles of the in the cracks, and he knows when to put it and when to take it out. Like this is very pale and white, but it's like rarely. And then you have really insane detail here, and then in black. So he has
Yeah.
control over
So he
that.
frames it.
Yeah,
And then just like the use of perspective with the buildings crumbling on top of each other, like that's not easy.
yeah, it's not because you got to look balanced too. Like that it's gonna be stable, right? Because when sometimes you feel to see it, like, oh, that's gonna fall off, like it should be falling by now. So it is a lot of like balance as well. Like this thing is cool too because like you see, he could have just did black on the shadows, but he
Sure.
did screen tone.
Yep.
So that was interesting. It's like, oh, and he did black. He didn't really do black. It's like really crazy cross hatching here,
Yeah.
or maybe it is screen tone, but it's just like
It might be
lines.
screen tone.
Yeah,
But there's so much you can learn just from studying this
yeah.
endlessly.
The clouds are always been my favorite. These ones, you just feel.
Yeah. Clouds are tough. I always wanna draw like
Yeah,
clouds like Franklin Booth does. Um
yeah. It's a good one.
and it's just like I can never I fail 100%
it's
of the
it's
time.
the
I'm just
the
gonna
volume, it's just the you have to really think of it as a one big shape of, I don't know, it's so weird because it's so free flowing, right? It's
yeah,
really hard to do.
it's really hard to do. And I can look at it and I can imitate it, but then I go and I have to do it on something else and just do and you know be on my own and I can never get it right. Something's not
Yeah.
clicking, and I'm hoping one day it will because I think it'll look really cool if it works.
No, yeah. I really just want to make a skyscape. There's just a big cloud.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do. Those are always fun.
Wow. Well, man, thanks for coming on and talking passionately about this thing.
Of course, dude.
I just love hearing what people think, about certain issues that are special to them and like talk passionately. And I think it always just comes across when people like really love something. So, yeah, man, thanks for coming on and doing
Of
this.
course, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Of
It was fun.
course. Um, where can people find you on socials?
Yeah. So on Instagram, you can find me at K Catalan. So KCATALEN _art. Same handle for Twitter. I don't use it as much, but you'll find me there too. And then my website, kcatalanart.com. And you'll see Space Nights there, but much of my book too, and some of my original art as well there, and some of my cool art that you can just see around there.
Sweet. Yeah. Please go and grab Space Nights. Kevin's a rock star. And if you haven't seen it and
Thank
haven't
you.
gotten it, you need to get it. So get on it. All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on, Kevin. And we'll talk to you later.
Of course, Chris. Thank you.
Yep, you got it. Before you go, don't forget to join my Patreon for exclusive content and physical comics gifted right to your door, like my sketchbooks and my Masters of the Universe bootleg comics, Not Man Nor Beast But Moss, and Stench of the Sea. Right now, I'm serializing my new mini, The Voyeur. You can support the channel by buying my comics, original art on my website, books like Spectral, A Showcase of Fear, 6 spooky tales, each told in a different spot color and weaved by a sinister traveling puppeteer. Lost Angels is a YA sci-fi mystery. When a space city crash lands on Santa Monica and begins to assimilate with our culture, young Alex Martinez may be the only one who can solve the mysterious death that occurs at her integrated human and angelic alien high school. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Leave a comment, and we'll see you next time.